Now these started quite randomly by, if you imagine, if you went to the shops for a bottle of milk and you came back with a toilet seat instead, that's exactly how these started. The Impossumals were originally created to actually represent real people. So every Impossumal that you see in every single painting is a real person. Bloodlines, which came out in 2013, the second Lost Impossumal collection, was a murder mystery. This is different. It continues on. It's got Lost Impossumals again, which are always entrenched in history, but mixed with some kind of story I want to tell you that I missed hearing when I was a child. But as soon as I started writing the stories, they actually started to develop into full-blown characters. So every single painting that you've got was built for real. So they've been painted in such a way that they actually work better in darker houses because all the shadows come out and the creature or the creation actually comes alive more. All the pieces are about impact. If you stand anywhere in a room, you should be able to see them from a far distance away, and they should almost pull you in. But the main thing about the Lost Impossumals, as well as visually, it's the story. And people love the stories. It starts with an explorer in the Atlantic. They find bubbles floating up just in a weird place. And these bubbles are colourful bubbles, almost like oil on water. If he could capture that in a bottle, he could sell it. And that's where the story starts. And eventually he just thinks, well, if I can't find anything, I'll buy a ticket on the Titanic instead and enjoy myself. So you find him at the end of the story, it's actually behind Jack and Rose on the end of the Titanic, watching, and suddenly he sees bubbles. And he looks round, and just as he's about to point like that and just shout Eureka, the iceberg slams into the Titanic and it sinks. Stupid, silly, whichever way you want to look at it, very entertaining stories to go with it. So we go to this one, the Sherlock Sidewinder's Final Problem. This is a puzzle piece. You've got to work out who survives and who dies. And the way you do it is through every object that's in there. So this is a puzzle piece, but this is fab because we built that room and we built the little characters in there, put all the little objects in there, lit it all, but then we switched the lights off. Get this in a viewing room if you've got one in the gallery, turn the lights down, look at it properly, because when this background goes black, that's when you can see everything. We'll take the next one, Pankhurst Portable Punch Him Judy booth. This started life as basically a seaside piece, and there was just one thing that actually needed, and it was the addition of Sooty and Sweep, and that was the trigger to the entire story. During the women's suffrage movement, one of the greatest problems that they had was raising funds and awareness. So this picks up one of the things that nobody really ever spoke about, and it's the Punch Him Judy booth. And if you had an errant husband or somebody that made you rather unhappy, you brought him along to this booth, it beat him up until he paid over enough money to the suffragettes that he'd actually stop. And that's exactly where this came from. Nice simple story, just nice straightforward as well, little sentiment on it. But have a look for the hidden things again. Next we've got the freakishly fiendish Fright Scream Man. So this begins its story in Victorian England with two ice cream sellers battling for the same pitch. Eventually one of them goes out of business, but as he goes out of business he actually swears to get his revenge on him, and he actually says the exact words that he'll sell his soul to the devil to do it. The story then moves on for a year. It comes thundering back with a cart that's 3 times bigger than the other person's cart. It comes piling in, it's got a ringing bell at the top, and is almost like a maniac riding the front of it. The only problem is the returning ice cream seller decides to take a lick of his own goods. He takes a lick of the 66, and immediately thunder, lightning, 4 horse riders of the apocalypse comes out and drags him and his cart straight down to hell. Every Halloween is allowed to return to Earth for 1 day to actually sell his wares, and anybody who buys an ice cream from him makes the return trip to hell with him. As there to gather souls. But this is him visiting at the midnight hour one Halloween, bringing that cart back. Next one, British Empire's Tenpenny Britannosaurus Rex. The story to this is quite different. This starts with the gold rush in the Klondike, and it tells you of a guy who goes over, joins in with the gold rush, but is actually too late when he gets there. So he returns back to England almost a broken man, and he gains employment at the Bassett's factory in Sheffield. Licorice Allsorts became so popular they needed something to go against it. So you find everything from lollipops to lemon sherbets and things like that all came into being in such a short period of time. The entire piece is meant to show Britain as a whole, and don't mess with us. Finally, we'll have the two pieces over here. As we've got here, we've got the quintessentially quaint Queen of Ices. The story with this starts very simply in a large house that a lady has inherited. But she finds that one of the rooms is always cold. And eventually she has to sell the house because she can't do anything with this room. The next person comes along, finds that the room is actually so cold. But one thing she has noticed when she walked in is there is a picture of a horse on the wall. What she doesn't realise is the only person that can warm the room up is somebody of pure of heart. And suddenly there's a landscape scattered right the way in front of her instead of a room. She discovered something really, really unreal. That's as much as we know, because that's as far as her diaries go. This creature is a descendant of the Cantering Cactacular Queen of Bakes, which is another creature that was in the 2013 collection as well. So it has a very good connection to collectors previously and new collectors. Finally, we get to this. This starts, same again, Victorian era, but it starts with an experiment. In this time, the Frankenstein had just been written in real life. So electric and electricity was one of the big buzzwords of Victorian society. And what they did at the Royal Society in real life, they created a booth that they passed electric into with people inside because they thought it'd cure them. So it tells you about one of these experiments, and they get a volunteer, which happens to be a Dr. Woohoo. The doctor almost is knocked unconscious, but when he does wake, it can hear some kind of grating, stupid, metallic voice, and he opens up onto this. Unfortunately, he's landed on the worst planet in history. He's landed on planet Crap Comic Con. It's where crap cosplayers go to die. And that's what this is about. Where do all the crap cosplayers go? They go to this planet. When you buy this piece, I'll make you a crap cosplayer up. It can be you, it can be one of your favourite characters, but anything you want, you tell me and I'll invent it. And I'll give you a story and a reason to go with it as well. That's what makes this so bespoke. You get such a one-off piece, and it won't be repeated either. You know that every character that is created is unique. It's almost vandalism of artwork, but you're paying for it. So that's it, that's basically the collection as a whole. It's a very fun collection. The stories are really, really good fun to actually talk to collectors about. And you'll find the type of collectors that go for this as well. We have Impossible collectors, we have Lost Impossible collectors. Some collect just one, some collect just the other, but there is a lot of them that cross over as well. So you'll find there's a lot of Impossible collectors that will quite easily translate to this and vice versa. So don't be afraid to have fun with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.